again, that's not set yet, but definitely more talk, and we're definitely working on the swap times. So I'm sorry that I know it is an inconvenience right now, but we're definitely working on it.
Yeah, there's another question actually, Emily. Yeah. Is there any way the cafe would be open a little later at night, even just until 8:30? There are a number of people that cannot make it there for dinner for various reasons, such as labs, jobs, or sports practices.
Again, money, guys.
Yeah. So basically, that's actually one of the main reasons, because Clark has such a low meal plan. Because Clark has such a low meal plan, we're just bound by the same constraints. So we're trying on that. The administration is really trying hard, and hopefully we can get things done. If you know of any other colleges that have the food service that is of the same meal plan or comparative, the administration would really like to know, because then we can research into what they do, and then we can incorporate that at Clark. Because nothing is impossible. We're ready to do anything. If we have a better option, we'll surely go for it. We can work with Sodexo to get those meal options. Okay. Great. Thanks, guys. Yeah. So, are there any other questions from anyone over here about the meal? Any other questions from people who are watching us live stream?
Not right now.
None. Okay. Great.
Also, we're just 6 minutes delay.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying. It's 6 minutes later.
Yeah. If we encounter any questions later, we'll just answer them.
There now.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yay.
Did we just resolve it? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, great. So the next issue that we talk about is Clark Wi-Fi. Now, as you all, lots of us know that the university has invested a lot of money into increasing, like, making the Wi-Fi better at Clark, but a lot of us don't know that those upgrades haven't been implemented yet. The university has purchased a lot of routers, a lot of advanced wireless equipment, but due to the size of that purchase, they aren't coming in until the summer of 2015. Also, they cannot be installed while we are in residence halls or even during the winter, because they actually need a very long period to do that. And that's mainly the time where all our residence halls will be open. So I did get in touch with the Clark ITS administration, and they did tell me that those upgrades will be up and running by the time we come back. There is a link to a page where we can monitor what hall is being upgraded, and I'll be sharing that link shortly after this symposium, so you can go there and take a look at it. Now, I know some people did have issues in places where the internet has already been upgraded. For example, in parts of the library, there was a wiring issue in the basement of Dodd, and some people, some constituents did get in touch with me, and I did contact IDs for them, and the IDS team actually went to those places, looked into them, and fixed them. So there was an upgrade for the Wi-Fi in the library, and after that, there have been surveys, and they've said that the Wi-Fi has been better. So if you have any problems with the Wi-Fi in any location, please do go to the IDS help desk, because they really document everything. People often think that IDS is aware of the issues on campus, but actually you have to use the internet to know how it's working, basically. And IDS people aren't everywhere, so it'll be really good if you could go to the help desk and talk about it. Another issue that comes up is sometimes, because the technology that we use for our Wi-Fi is not always the same as the technology that's on the computers. So it's important to get those proper drivers installed and those proper upgrades installed. They might not always be the latest versions, but still.
We have some questions.
Yeah. The question is, there are some corners in Bullock Hall where there is no Wi-Fi signal.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So for the same reasons, Bullock is one of the halls that has not been upgraded yet. So after summer 2015, it will work. Although you won't be staying there at this point.
And the other question is that Wi-Fi stinks, which is not a question. Thank you for your commentary.
Yeah.
That's it for Wi-Fi.
Any questions? Okay. If you have any questions about food or Wi-Fi,
there's another question.
There's a question about food? Okay.
Yes. So the next question is, can we get some more vegetarian vegan food in the refrigerator? And that's, again, that's something I'll bring up to Heather and Paul. So look forward to that in the future. Again, if you want to email me so I can keep you updated, I'll definitely keep updating on the Facebook page once I know. So I'll keep with you.
Yeah, great. And we will also after the symposium is over, we will write like a concise report on it and send that out also.
Yes.
And you can read that. You can read the transcript, and at that time also, you have any comments, please send them in. We'll compile a report. The administration is actually waiting to get a report from the comments that we get during the symposium. So we will forward them those comments to them. Great. So the next thing we will be talking about is escorts and safety. This is also one of the things that Emily has been closely following, so I think she will be talking this time.
So this was another initiative I teamed up with Sammy North, who is the current vice president, who's working with transportation, and also Jess Musk. And we went to the WSGA, which is the Worcester Student Government Association meeting, and talked about trying to get the consortium bus up and running again, and also different transportation. If you filled out the survey, I believe it was last semester about transportation, we were going over that, and we do hear your voices, and we have been talking about different ways of getting maybe buses to go to different zones, such as Shrewsbury Street and things, more places like that that a lot of students would want to go to. So hopefully next year, this is still a long process. Transportation is probably one of the longest processes, and we're definitely working on it. I hope next year that I'll continue further with the new vice president, Amy Fallon, to work on transportation, and I know student life committee is working really hard on this, and they can more about it too.
Yeah, so I can kind of speak to that. What Student Life does is we provide transportation based on what you guys need. We've sent out surveys that ask you where you want the spring break buses to go and where you want the winter break buses to go. And unfortunately, a lot of times when we send out surveys, no one really answers. So we would love to add more buses, of course, and add buses to more places during the week. We just need to know that there's a need for it, so we can get it and so we can put it into our budget. We'd be happy to have a bus go to Rhode Island. We'd be happy to have buses go anywhere that there is a solid need for. We just need to know that information. So of course, we will keep you updated on that. And if you have any issues with transportation or any ideas, of course you can email me, but also the chair of the committee, Emma Binder, as well.
Another thing about transportation, at the end of the day, if you ever need an emergency, if you're ever somewhere and it's an emergency or you need to get somewhere, always call UP. That's the most important thing, is safety. So.
Okay, another question for Rohan.
Yeah.
Why is the internet so slow? Speed is not related to the routers, it's related to the bandwidth. Can the university not increase the plan and buy more data and speed, even if the signal is full, but the speed is extremely slow?
Okay, so yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very well-informed question. I did speak to the head of ITS about this. And when I went, the first things that we actually discussed was the bandwidth. Clark actually is able to monitor the amount of bandwidth that is used, and they always. So a good way of putting this is that the bandwidth, the cap of the bandwidth is never exceeded. It's the least in the mornings and it peaks during the night time, but we never use more than what we have. So the bandwidth isn't really, although it looks like the bandwidth is the issue isn't really the bandwidth. The issue that comes in is because of jumping in routers when it comes to Wi-Fi. Each router has a specific bandwidth, and so routers keep shifting computers from one router to another, and that's why there's a lag, and that cuts the bandwidth. So that's also one thing that ITS is upgrading and trying to work with, and the new wireless upgrade implementations will work on that. So I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up, please.
So another question for Emily. Instead of having an escort service, it would be better to have I guess this is for me. Instead of having an escort service, it would be better to have a shuttle service. Can you guys work on something like that?
I'll talk quickly and then hand it over to Cassie about escort service. I think escort service is it's just important because people are going to I know the main hotspots such as Price Chopper and CVS, but also people go to maybe to other houses off campus that obviously aren't considered as where shuttles would go. So that wouldn't be wouldn't be something that we would want to cut, but definitely add on shuttle service.
Again, if there's a need for it, we can do that. We have a shuttle service to the malls, obviously, Fridays and Saturdays, so you can always take those. But if you need like a shuttle service somewhere else, please tell us. There is on Friday, one of the reasons that escort may be so slow is because on Friday they do run a escort van to Union Station. They only run one, but it does take a while because of traffic. So that puts them one van short for a certain amount of time, which is why it can be slow on Fridays, especially.
Yeah, and another good thing, Clark Escort is actually a unique service that Clark University offers. I actually met with the Vice President for Community and Governance a few days ago, and we were talking about this. The way Clark Escort helps is what shuttles do is they provide you services from one stop to the other stop. What Clark Escort does is it gives point-to-point transport. Basically, you would go from the door of one off-campus residence hall to the other door, and that is like really helpful because that also saves fuel. Cars aren't just patrolling round and round in circles when it's not needed. And the main issue for us in this area is safety, and we use that as a way of going around, making safe, because if we drop someone 2 blocks away from their house, there still is the chance that they might not be safe for that walk. That is why we have the escort service. Yeah, we do. I just need to do escorts. Okay, and one more point about escorts that was raised that was also discussed was that some people were having problems with university police giving them escorts. University police used to sometimes refuse escorts to health services due to time constraints because they used to be like super busy and stuff like that. I have so different dispatchers were also not aware of this. So we did talk about that issue, and I was asked to clarify this to all Clarkies, all first years and all Clarkies, that you can get university police to take you to health services at any time during the day. You might have to plan ahead. There might be a significant wait time. They might even ask you to wait for like 45 minutes at times, but they will take you. If for example, the dispatcher doesn't know, or if the dispatcher isn't informed, or if the dispatcher, if there's an issue basically, just shoot me an email and I can direct you, or I can get in contact with the university administrator that handles escorts, and we will fix that situation. If in the middle of the night you need to go to CVS to get a prescription and it's like 5 a.m. and escort doesn't work, you can contact you when you do it. So this was about escorts and transportation. We'll also be discussing safety right now, and Emily has been working with the current vice president of the student council, who is Sami Noor. So she can talk about this.
I'm also on the safety committee and safety, and I also work with Sammy, who's also big on safety. And for example, I had a concern I know obviously the athletes that have to go down to the Dolan, and then some of the work studies that work down there, and just other people that go down to the Dolan. Sometimes at night the lights, the floodlights aren't always on, and so it's a little difficult to see at night coming up and down. And we all know that it's not the safest street. And what Jack Foley, we met with Jack Foley, he said that they're making a priority to always have the floodlights on, and that makes a huge difference. And also, if you ever feel uncomfortable, always call escort, even if it takes a while. The Dolan's always open and to stay in to wait for a escort van. And if you really do, if escort at any time cannot, and hopefully they won't, to always call UP, and that's the always main priority is safety. And Jack Foley is a great person to talk to if you ever have really safety concerns.
Great, thanks for that, Emily. Yeah, okay, so yeah, we do, okay, so I'm seeing a few questions that are not related to the panel. We will be addressing all questions. We will have an open forum after the panel is over. So at that time, we will answer all questions. And we'll also put the answers to the questions. So if you don't want to hang around, you can ask a question and you'll get the answer. Don't worry about that. Are there any members of the audience who have any questions at this time? Would like to ask them? No? Okay, great. That's
Just
awesome.
a quick comment while we're on
Quick.
thing. It says here, there's a question, says Shrewsbury has a lot of shops better than Blackstone. Can we get a shuttle to Shrewsbury? If you email me and you have multiple, or email whoever becomes the chair, and mention this to them, I'm sure we can put it into discussion.
Yeah, and remember, if you have any issue on campus, we are your representatives to student council also. So you don't have to search, like for example, if there's a club charter that's pending and you email judiciary, you don't have to wait to get a response from the people you email. We are supposed to be a direct links both to the administration and to student council. So you can let any of us know, whoever's your representative. You're in GSC, you can let Jenna know, and since if you're a first year, you can let me know or Jenna know or either one of us know. Like,
We help each other out.
yeah, yeah. So we will help you, and we will get you. We will contact we will get you to the right people, and we will also contact them to make sure that they're able to help you in the specific allotted time that you need the help. Great. So the next thing we'll be talking about is the executive board elections. Okay, so I know a lot of people have been talking about this, and a lot of people have been sort of disturbed by the fact that we asked for a recall election. I want everyone to know that there was actually a reason why this was done. I know many of us also, I mean, I can't speak for everyone else on the panel, but we were all a little disgruntled by the sudden switch and the sudden ruling that we were notified a day before the student council meeting. So we were all kind of disturbed by it during the meeting also. But on further thought and reconciliation and after talking to judiciary, some very important factors come up. One, that our student council is not only a council that cares about its image, but also its moral and setting precedents for the future. We have to make sure that whatever actions we take are not used as a weapon in future student councils. Because if we set a precedent today, then tomorrow, if there's an issue, people can just go back to our president and say, this was done at that time, so you have to do this time. And that is one of the provisions that can allow us to kind of talk to judiciary about something and like get something changed or stuff like that. Okay, no questions about this. Yeah. Does anyone from the audience have any questions about the executive board elections, basically? No? Yeah, Alicia can, because Alicia was one of the people running.
I like just speaking on behalf of the newly executive board. I will say that I appreciate what judiciary did. I appreciate they thought a lot about their decision. They talked multiple times about what to do, and they just worked really hard. And I really just appreciate appreciate everything that they put into their decisions. But as a result of what happened, Brittany, the president, actually last night, she moved to create an ad hoc committee that will comprise of myself and the newly elected e-board, as well as members of the judiciary, to meet this semester and next year in order to create a report on a sustainable solution for a way for council and judiciary to sort of check each other in a successful way, so that both council and judiciary can really hear each other and understand what they have to say. And so hopefully we'll see what comes out of that, and hopefully that will fix some of the problems that we've been having.
Yeah.
Okay, the question is, why do the voters have to vote 1,000 times if the council is corrupt?
Okay, so I should probably take this question. So the thing is, Judiciary Committee's position is it's really hard to be on judiciary, because you need to do the right thing, and even if you morally think it's wrong, you still have to follow the constitution, because that's your job. Judiciary came under a lot of heat. I can tell you it wasn't easy. We were looking at them. It was a really heated meeting at that time, but they were still defending the viewpoint, not emotionally. They were only defending the viewpoint based on they knew that it was the right thing to do. They knew that it was the only thing they could do because of the way the Constitution is written. And that is one of the things that the ad hoc committee that Alicia just talked about will also be looking into. Because we're also trying to find a way that we can relieve judiciary of that kind of pressure and that kind of tormenting, because they don't know what to do. We need to give them a solution also to this. So that's one of the things that the ad hoc committee will look over. So I hope that does answer your question about yeah. And by the way, we're all sitting with laptops so we can read the questions.
It's also the questions, and like I personally am on like the Clark Athletics page, and I know Emily has notes on her laptop, so we're not just sitting here texting or on Facebook.
I have the master script so that way we can stay on time, and Alicia's looking at her council constitution things. So
yeah,
we do have these for a good reason.
Yeah, we promise. No, not yet. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So the next thing that we'll be talking about is how grants and club budgets work. So Emily and I actually sat in on we are actually a part of the finance committee at this time, like for this section. So we were the ones doing the budgets also. And I can honestly say that this is the hard thing I have ever done in my life, because we had $25,000 less than last year and about 15 more clubs applying than last year. And each club requested, like most of the clubs requested an increase, some requested to remain the same, and there were a few that requested decreases. Student Council this year took a lot of initiatives and introduced new bylaws to make funding for important and major events like Free Day and Gala come from a separate source. So we didn't have to go into the budget from grants or go into the budgets from accumulated surplus to fund them. To make sure that there's money for major projects, and so to make sure that there's money for any of your personal initiatives or any clubs, big events, stuff like that. So yeah, basically that was one of the reasons that this cut was made. It's very hard. I know for a fact that steps are going to be taken to resolve this, and steps are going to be taken to make sure that next year we're able to give more money to clubs. That's all I can say about that right now, and until a decision is made on what steps will be followed.
There's a question about elections and what the actual problem is. There's a question that was just posted. What was the actual problem? Who did what? I'm assuming that this is for the election. There is a 60-second
delay.
Yeah, so we don't get your questions right away once we progress through our talk. So we can absolutely address that now.
Yeah, great. Okay. So the actual problem was that so what happened was one of the persons on the student council who was a part of elections committee last year during the fall elections during the last spring elections still had access to the voting system. So he was actually able to look at the votes being counted. Although that person couldn't really do anything, but based on the constitution, if the security of the election system is compromised, basically the integrity of the security was compromised. That's why it has to be overruled. That is the burden was on judiciary, and that is what they had. Basically, that was the whole issue.
Rohan, you have the question about budgets. I'll take
this.
Both of them are kind of the same about budget cuts and everything, and added on that one of the questions was my tuition fees going up, so why? So the budget for clubs goes for the student activities fee that you pay for every year. That's not included in the tuition, and why as I'll reiterate, as Rohan said, that we cannot give all, we had to cut every club's budget. It wasn't just a certain club, it was every club's budget. And we had to do that because we got a really big amount of clubs that applied. And so it was a very difficult situation, and we hate to do it. I know there's amazing clubs out there that are really thriving and trying to expand, and I know it's so difficult to do it with such a limited budget, but we promise you that this is something immediate that we're working on right now. So hopefully next year solve this problem. But again, we're really sorry because we did get a very big increase in clubs this year, and we had to cut all of them, which was awful, and I hope that this problem will be fixed as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that our budget is about $75,000, $750,000, but all of that isn't allocated to club budgets. Club budgets get about $250,000 in total based on the new CPB bylaw that the entire school voted on, and the rest of that money is allocated to funding other stuff like major events like Spree Day, the Fall Fest, and stuff like that, basically. Is it a Fall Fest? There's a major event in the fall that's fine. I'm not sure what it's called, the Fall Fest, but yeah, it's one of the main. And yeah, Gala is also one of them. Yeah.
Also, the Scarlet has a special part
Yeah.
of the budget as well, and I think Rock You.
Also EMS, which is critical to our campus.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things on campus that are funding. EMS, I think, has double funding. I'm not completely sure about EMS, but yeah, they might have had in their budget or they might not. But yeah, the important thing to note is essential services for the students are funded constitutionally to make sure that funding is there for them, even if funding is not there for the other clubs, because the other clubs can obviously go to PCF or go to other funds that we have, but those things have to run. And if they like, those are basically the essentials for our campus to go on. Clark Escorts is one of them too. So the buses that are run are also one of them. So let me talk a little bit about the breakup of our budget, since that's all obviously a very important part. Like that's also something that's very close to everyone. So we have $750,000 in total. $2,000 is allocated to club budgets. Grants in total, including money for activism and equipment, is $60,000. That's what we vote on whenever we are in student council. If you ever come or if you ever apply for a grant, you can see us voting on those. And the rest goes to a mixture of things that I don't really know. But yeah, they do go to, I don't know them off the top of my head, but we've all seen the budget reports. We look over them at the beginning of the year. So we know that all of that money gets allocated to things like major events and stuff. So yeah. That.
One question, Rohan.
Yeah.
Is it mandatory to pay student activities fee?
We highly recommend that students do pay students' activities fee. We do know that they might. Actually, I will not be able to answer this question completely. I would have to contact student accounts to get more information on this, which I'll do. I'll speak to them and I'll get back to you.
It's a good idea to have a student activities fee and to pay this, because you may say, oh, I'm not in any clubs, why do I have to pay this fee? Even if you have never been EMS or don't participate in Spree Day, clubs do throw on a lot of events that I'm sure you've at least gone to one of them. Bagel brunches, Spree Day, being EMS, all of this stuff is paid for by the student activities fee. So not paying it is basically like, it's just a problem. And then one of the questions was, how are there other ways to get money from the club? And so this is my committee. The Student Life Committee has this thing called a PCF, which if you go on the student council page, there's a Google Doc you can fill out, and it will tell us. You can just fill out some basic questions like, what do you need the money for? And give a budget breakdown. And if we have the money and we see that it's for a good cause, the committee votes on it, and if we get a majority vote, then you are allotted that money.
Yeah, from grants, yeah.
Yes.
And so there's like, I know everyone, yeah, some of the questions do come to people, some of the things that come to people's mind are why they have to pay the $350 and why is it separate from tuition. It's separate for a very good reason. The reason we keep the student accounts, I'm saying this over and over again, I'm sorry. The reason we keep the SAF separate, the $350 separate, is because students need to have the power over that money. If that money comes from the administration, then the administration will also have a say in where it goes. And that will defeat the purpose of the autonomy of grants and the autonomy of student council in general. So that's one of the reasons we really need that money to be separate. So if we can answer, I know there are a few other questions we'll answer them in our report because we need to move on to the next items in our panel agenda. Okay, so we'll be like talking for 2 minutes about things that we want to do but are unable to do at this time, things that are basically our student council's scope, and then we'll pause our live stream for about 5-10 minutes while we have an open forum and just like talk with people that are over here, and then we'll resume in again in 5 minutes. Okay, great. So the last 10 things we are unable to do at this time. That's you want to take this?
Yeah, okay, so some things that we can't do this time are, you always, specifically, some of you have come to me, and I'm sure some people have come to Jenna about the lack of water fountains in our halls, and also how there is a water fountain in JSC, but it's on the 4th floor. This is something that we don't really have like jurisdiction over. We can't tell people to put it in the hall, but we apply just like you guys can apply to the student sustainability thing, and we apply to get the water fountains and stuff like that. So we can fill out that form. Unfortunately, we're right. There's a problem with that. It wasn't filled out in time. There are multiple forms filled out. There's just issues with it. So we won't be getting one this year, but that's not to say there won't be one in the future. Also, getting printers in the halls as well. I know Kevin, who is going to be our president, has been working on getting a printer in Blackstone. Do you have any comments of why that is not able to happen, Kevin?
Yeah, you can just say it and repeat it.
Okay, yeah, so I was speaking with RA at Blackstone Hall, Pooja, I think is the RA, and she mentioned to me how she can't believe and how there's resistance against doing that because Clark is actually trying to move towards being paperless. So a printer would be counterproductive for that mission.
Okay, so if you couldn't hear Kevin, what he said is that basically our university is trying to become paperless and go more green. So adding more printers would be counterproductive to that.
Yeah, so we can just discuss and deliberate more on that after we return. So we'll take like a 5-minute interval, do what you want to do, and we'll come back then. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Thanks. Hi guys, so we're back and now we'll be presenting very briefly on our initiatives. We would ask you to put questions in, but we'll be going fast through this section because we want more time to be there for questions because there are a lot of questions coming. So we want to address each question also. So first initiative is Cassie's, that is the Clarky and Google divide. Cassie.
Okay, so my initiative is the Clarky Cougar Divide. And no, I'm not saying there is one specifically. This is just something that I have noticed, and also people in athletics have noticed, and people in clubs and activities have noticed. So the Clarky Cougar Divide, basically what I'm trying to do is make it so Clarkies are more involved in Cougar events, and Cougars are more involved in Clarky events. A lot of problems are about how Cougars can't always be in Clarky clubs because of the times, and it's the same 7 to 11 time slot for a lot of clubs, and it's the same as when games are. So that's an issue, and I'm working on that right now. And I'm also working on having clubs like the Counterpoints or the Clark Bars or the Clark Keys singing at halftime, or people dancing at halftime, or having a national anthem sing-off. So that is what I'm talking about when I mean the Clarky Cougar divide. I do not mean there's a literal divide. I just mean that there is things that we can work on.
Okay, so the next initiative is mine. Yeah, it's the academic support center that I'm trying to start at Clark. So I'm working on establishing an academic support center, the first phase of which is set for implementation in the fall of 2015, that's next semester, as a pilot program where a manageable number of students will be recruited to tutor students. This is being coordinated through the office of the dean of the college. Now, tutoring, when we're envisioning that tutoring will be offered on a regular and ad hoc basis. Tutors will be students who will be recruited through a fairly simple application process. Applications hopefully will be going out relatively soon if we stick with the fall 2015 pilot program plan. The next initiative is Jana's, and she unfortunately cannot be here because she's giving a PA interview. Yay, good luck, Jana. So I'll just read out the short description that's here for her. Okay, so Jana has been working to install an electronic balance in the Nether Athletic Center for use by all students. Currently, there is an electronic balance, but only in the room that athletes can use. The new scale will be supplementing the current traditional weighing scale, and being a professional scale with a stand will be much more accurate. She came to grants committee to ask for the money for it, and it cost between $200 and $300. The grant request was approved, and we're waiting on the payment processes to be carried out, and the scale to be delivered and installed. So it hopefully should be here in a while. The next initiative is Alicia's.
Okay, so a couple things. So really, I worked on two things more specific to Dot Hall. One thing, we only have 3 washers and 3 dryers for 5 floors of people. So that's not a lot of machines that we can use. So I went to RLH to talk about that, and I found out that unfortunately, because of the way that the pipes are structured in the walls, we cannot put in new machines into DOD, and also because there's a lack of space. So there's that. So I'm sorry. And also, I've heard a lot of complaints from my constituents that the lighting in DOD is not really great. So like if you're sitting outside in the kitchen doing your homework, it's just very dark in the building. So I actually went to RLH again to talk about that. And I did get an update this morning actually, and I heard that they are working with Physical Plant to get the lights brighter and drop lower from the ceiling to spread the amount of coverage on every floor. There is not an update of the timeline, but they will get one soon. So there's that, and there's also, as secretary, I have a couple goals, but most important one, sorry, I'll go real quick. As secretary, I think This goal really fits with my position as advisor for communications committee. So what I really want to do is work with marketing and communications department at Clark, as well as with students as how to advertise Clark. If you remember, there was that whole banner issue on top of Jonas Clark that people really didn't like, especially because of the fact that the whole motto "Challenge Convention Change Our World." People do not take that seriously, and it's become kind of a joke. So I really would like to hear more of the student voice on that and see what we can play around with and how we can better advertise Clark, not just to our students, but also to prospective students and to other schools and really around the country. So, yes, thank you.
That was very informative, Alicia. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, I'm working with the office of the dean of the college, the registrar, our student council, and also the graduate student council to include the syllabi of courses into the registration system, both as a short-term and a long-term solution. So basically, one of the issues that we often hear about are that the two sections of the same course, and one would be easier and one would be harder. Now, easier and harder are perceptions of people. One person might be very good at testing and exams, the other person might love writing papers every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So literally, syllabi will help students choose which section they want to be and also choose which course they want to take. For example, a course might be named ABC, but talk about XYZ. Like, obviously, because this title and description do not always explain what the course will entail or into what depth the course material will go. That's one of the things I've been trying to work on, and hopefully we can get the solutions. So, yeah. The next is Jana's.
All right. So my first initiative that I was trying to take on during the beginning of the year was to install a gender-neutral bathroom in our admission center. I have been working with Open, and we just haven't really been in good communication for the entire year, and so the initiative has kind of taken a backseat for now. And in my opinion, it isn't as relevant as a concern for most Clarkies as of right now, because it's, we already got into Clark. But the reason behind my initiative is because, Clark is a very liberal school. It's very progressive, and the Clarkies in itself is very much geared towards the understanding of gender neutrality and trying to make things accessible for everybody in every sexual orientation and gender identification. And to give Clark that face to people who are deciding if Clark is a good fit for them, it just speaks about our progressive mindset, and I think it really reflects the mindset of all of us. And I don't really envision many setbacks in that, but if you have any questions or concerns about anything about it, I would be happy to take them.
Okay. Hi guys, again. So yeah, this one is mine again. So I've been working with RLH to ensure provision is installed for students to be able to come a day early back to campus. Currently, we can come 1 day early. I'm trying to make that 2. A, because research says that students should be acclimatized to their learning environment before they begin courses. B, because practically I need more than a day to set myself up. I don't know what everyone else. I actually need a week, but yeah, that's a completely different matter. So yeah, is there anything I haven't covered? Yeah. So it wasn't possible this year, mainly because the housing contract needs to be updated, and the housing contract was already created by the time we started our conversations. And also everyone was involving in changing and improving and going paperless with the entire housing system, lottery system. So yeah, but this is definitely going to be our lecturers told me that this is going to be on the agenda for the coming years, and hopefully we can get this provision installed at class. Great. So Jenna will now be talking about the class structure.
So my second initiative after the gender-neutral bathroom admissions is, this kind of came upon very recently. I wanted to see if there's a way that our council could restructure itself internally to take on the causes more of you guys. Kind of like what's going on now, how you guys are live streaming the questions and things. And generally, we don't have a high attendance at our council meetings every Tuesday night. And very rarely do we get somebody who actually has a legitimate concern. And when we do, it's kind of bad in the sense that we would brush them off because we have an agenda, we have a structure to our meeting, and we can't always get as in depth in the constituents' conversation as we would like to. So I've been trying to talk to some PE board members, just kind of feel my way around in this to see if there's any kind of steps we could take to possibly form an ad hoc committee or some kind of extension to student life committee to see if there's a way we can directly serve you guys and your direct questions and address them more in-depthly instead of at our general meetings. And this is very much in the works right now, so I don't have a whole lot, but again, if you guys have any advice or tips or anything you'd like to see, just let us know.
Yeah. I was trying to listen. That's okay. That happens. Alicia.
Dean of the College Forum, yeah, this happened last semester. I worked with Brittany to hold a forum with a couple of, about 20 students attended this. Deb, if you remember, Deb Robertson and Matt Melsky attended this event. They were both running for Dean of the College, and it was a really informative event. They talked about what they would do as a Dean of College, and now we have Matt Melsky, who's now Dean. So, and we had a lot of students bring up questions, and it was a good event.
So lastly, about a month ago, all six of us, Jana also, we all banded together to start talking about class spirit, recognizing the fact that we are the class of 2018, and we will always be the class of 2018 from Clark University. So we have a lot of, this is actually one of the places from where the symposium came up. So we have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of plans, we have been in contact with the Office of Dean of Students and other offices on campus, sort of bring things between of a house system and other stuff like that, and I will not talk about right now because it's not planned and I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. And we also aren't particularly sure about what it's going to be like. So yeah, of the structure of it. So yeah, we will be bringing updates about that shortly.
It would be like Hogwarts, basically, where you get a point system and based on what you go to.
Yeah, so that's the general idea. So like we'll be building on that. Yeah. Does anyone have any other things to add to class spirit or in general?
Again, just please keep using our resources with the live stream. If you have any good ideas or any comments, we really do take this seriously as we are putting this on for you guys, and we'd like to hear your feedback on this. That's all I have to say.
I'm sorry.
Okay guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining our initiative and panel. Now we will be talking about specific questions that have come up. There are actually a lot of them. We are on number 54 right now, so we'll try to cover as many of them as quickly as we can. We have about 20 minutes, so yeah, we should be able to do that. Hopefully, but yeah. With follow-up, wow, those are a lot of questions. Okay, so with follow-up questions.
So if we don't get to half of them are mine, talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like can Jenna say for us, why is it so dark there?
Oh, that wasn't me. Why is it so dark?
It's dark because we have poor lighting.
Yeah.
Or why is it dark with Dawn? like what do you want to know about the darkness?
Yeah, so we'll begin from the top.
I think so.
Yeah, so each one of us can read one question out, and then whoever wants to talk about that, can talk about that, and then we move on to the
I feel like we should just pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done most of these.
Yeah.
One that I wanted to pick from the beginning.
Yeah, sure. Start
Okay,
with
Okay, so from the beginning, what do you think is the best part of the FY experience? I'm thinking in terms of housing, programming, and FY classes. Do you have an opinion on these?
I'm holding your question up.
We can't hold it
You
just
can
yet.
hold it. Refresh the page. I just.
Okay.
Yeah.
The FY experience is just like something that's like totally special to us. We are the only dorms that are just strictly freshmen, so we have a very close knit community freshman year. So I think that's what one of my favorite things is. Does anyone else want too?
When I was a first year, I really liked my first year intensive class. It was Talking Freedom with Walter Wright, and he was awesome. Like just starting a dialogue as your first year intensive, your first dialogue class, it's such a great experience. At least it was for me. And you make really great friend relationship with your advisor too, and it's like awesome. It's great. I love it.
To me, it's a little scary because we're first years right now. I know where to find all of you. I mean, I know like if I need to contact first years, I know there are 4 halls and there are 4 hall reps, and it's so easy. But next year it's kind of scary because everyone will be everywhere, and then I don't know. But yeah. So yeah. Next question.
Jenna's gonna take this one, and I will read it off for you, Jenna.
Yeah, it's a good segue.
What happens to your roles at the end of the year? Who will speak up for the first years?
So if you are a first year and you are watching this, you will not be a first year next year. So our hopes is that we will continue our roles to be hall representatives and Rohan to be the sophomore year rep.
Yeah, but I'm not campaigning judiciary. Just this is not a campaign.
And that's not to say that any of you guys could also run. It's not set in stone. Our roles are always re-elected, and there's no guarantee that we will be continuing council, although many of us would like to. And as for the first years next year, there's an election that's run in the fall for the new incomers at Clark, and then they will take over our positions as like the JSC rep, Dog Hall rep, and everyone else here. So yeah.
And if you have like any questions, or if you want to know what student council is like, if you're planning on running next year, you can get in touch with any representative. We'd be more than happy to take you to our meetings to like give you the run of meal and like show you all how things are done in council. Absolutely. Yeah. Next question.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Anisha,
We have a question more
Yeah.
about budgets. Isn't the university supposed to pay for our health, aka EMS? Why is it not included in? Why is it included in the student activity?
Well, that's actually quite easy. Students run EMS, so it's actually considered a club on campus. So yeah, and clubs on campus are guided by us. If we feel that if student council feels that there's a need for more EMS members, we'll be increasing the funding for that. And it's actually easier because inside student council, it's easy to do a lot of things. It's easy to communicate with clubs. But when we go and talk to the administration, not just administration are very approachable at club, but it adds another procedure, it adds another process, and it takes time. So it's easier if students retain control, and that's also one of the things the administration loves about club, that students do so much, students are so active, and we are club kids. So yeah, that's our idea.
One of the questions that keeps popping up that I see is around the roundabouts. Can you guys send an email or make a page to have all this information that we've been talking about, as grants, everything else that's really important because some people really want to know. And we have to keep explaining, such as printers and water fountains. So how can this information be relayed somewhere where we can go check?
Okay, so I can talk a little about that. I've been working with like a couple people, and I've talked to a couple people about this. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make something like this where you can have access to everyone's emails. But there is on the Clark University page, there is a directory, and you can check and be like, oh, who's the head of RLH, or who's such and such. So there is that. But the problem is when you have a question about a club, or who do I talk to about getting this, or who do I talk to about getting that, it usually goes through a club. So for example, like the water fountains, I was like, oh my gosh, who do I talk to? And that changes from year to year. E-boards aren't the same every year, so you can't just go and ask. You can go up to the Hillel office and ask them a question, but you don't necessarily know who to email if you're not in it. So we are working on that, but it is going to change year to year. So just bear with us, and we'll see what we can do about it.
Never be afraid to ask us, send us emails, or anything. We're always open to questions.
So your reps are here for.
Yeah. We have a question about can we also have a professor profile so that we know which professor to choose? the syllabi initiative kind of, I would say, would work for that. Basically, because you'll be able to know how the course is structured. Specific things about professors, I'm not sure how much in our scope that will be possible. We could obviously discuss it in council, that's something we can bring up. But yeah, I know that there are third-party websites that you could use, and maybe a Google search might help. Yeah.
I just found a comment about, it's comment 51, it's Identity Appreciation Day, and I'm assuming that that was said in part by my comment about the gender neutral bathrooms, and I just like to say that that's super cool. I think that's an awesome idea, and it's awesome that you brought it to attention, whoever you are. And if you'd like to, you could get in touch with me, and we could get in touch with Open, and you can send me an email at jlibera@clarku.edu.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Although I think so. You'll text me.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
We have a good follow-up question about the having information, not just the directory, but the information like the statistics of the budget. I did not know that it was 700,000. Yes, Rohan.
Okay. So I plan to return to communications committee on student council, and one of the things that I plan to do is to create a website. Student council does have a website, but it's kind of arbitrary at this point because we don't have a webmaster. Yeah, we have, exactly. So we have secretary. So why am I saying secretary? Alicia, who is the secretary now? It's so complicated these days. Alicia, who is the secretary of student council now, will be the direct advisor, so we can work together on building that website up. So basically, my plan for that is to have the budgets there, the current grant amount remaining there, the money put on hold, which has been allocated and not been used there, other cool stuff there. So yeah, we will work with you on that. This isn't the only plan we're planning to have. We'll keep sending out surveys. We might have another one of this, and we'll get your feedback on that and hopefully develop that tool, so you can be more informed as constituents, and we can, because we can't do anything without knowing what you want us to do. It's just okay, so what is the point of having a first year symposium at the end of the year? That's a very good question. And that's kind of one of the things we were wondering too. What's the point of having at the end of the year? Well, we came to Clark, we were new here, it took us a long time to fit in. We got elected in the middle of last semester. Technically, this is basically half point of our term. The electoral years fall and goes to fall. So time-wise, it's not, I'm not sure if it's half yet, but it probably is half, yeah, and semester-wise it's also half. So we have half term more. The first half we were trying to get to know the university, ourselves, the administrators, what the scope of Clark University, Clark Undergraduate Student Council is, because student councils are different everywhere. And now that we are on board, we will be making progress, bringing things to council and working on your initiatives and things that you want us.
And additionally, we didn't just make this exclusive for the first year class.
Yeah.
We feel that this information that we're providing is beneficial to everybody at Clark. And the reason why we called it a first year symposium was because it was put on by sort of like our ad hoc council within our council, because we represent the first years. And so we wanted to provide this service to you guys. And it is, it is a little bit of a shame that it had to be so late in the year, but we didn't start meeting together until a little bit before spring break occurred. So we probably only had maybe like 3 or 4 actual meetings where we've kind of solidified this. So,
And plus, we've been working on the initiatives really, and of course we're not. We're still working on initiatives, and this is a good update. So we'll keep having this again.
Yeah, we were actually in the beginning of the year. We hadn't banded together. We were pretty much making friends, bonding with each other also, and we brought up a good point. We were working on our initiatives and all of that stuff, because at that point we didn't know that such an event was also within the scope of council. So yeah. Other questions? Alicia, do you want to take one? Okay, you picked it then. There's one question about escorts having a 0.5 mile radius. That's a very good point. That is something I could talk to the vice president of the students affairs. I'm forgetting his exact title, but I'll say vice president. The vice president. Yeah, and surely we'll try to bring that up and try to work with that and improve that. But also it's important to note that students are the ones operating the club van, so we also don't want to send them to large distances because A, large distances decreases safety issues. B, large distances means more wait times because if you're driving far off, right now Escort tries to have an average wait time of 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes during peak hours, I can understand it becomes large. Sometimes it's also 1 to 3 minutes. So yeah, banning them and sending them far away will be detrimental.
Um, we have Dale Wan here, who is the chair of finance, and we just got a question. How do you guys decide how much should a club get? What are the factors? Do you have a list or something like that?
Oh, I'm still there. All right. Well, I had to stop by to all first years. First of all, your first year representatives did an awesome job setting this up, so kudos to them. Secondly, so for annual budget process, what we do is we get requests from all the different clubs. We got about 107 requests. In fact, we got exactly 107 requests this year. And we have a certain limited amount of money to give away. That this year that's about $246,000. We go through and add up all the sum total of all the requests from the clubs, and that's usually a lot more than what we got this year. It came to about $498,000. And so obviously, you know, we can't give everyone exactly what they want. So what we usually do is we have a policy of clubs that didn't ask for any more money. If they got asked for the same amount as last year, we try and give them the same amount. This year that was impossible, unfortunately, due to the sheer number of clubs that requested and the decreased amount of money we had. And so as you guys probably know, we had a decrease in all club budgets, which pretty much sucked this year. Sucked for everyone. But that's the general procedure. And then after that, we go through clubs and rank them into priorities, high, medium, and low. And none for clubs to whom we're unable to give a club budget because they haven't been recognized for long enough or something like that. And we base those priorities based on the amount of thought that the clubs have put into their budget requests, how organized and detailed they are, and occasionally based on what they're requesting things for. For example, club sports are required to have a coach, and so we try and support the amount of funds they ask for to give them a coach because otherwise they wouldn't be able to function. So we look at what the clubs need to function. And trying to allocate them those amounts of money, and then from there we go through another round of going through it and giving more money to clubs. Say what these clubs really like, what they need to have, based on what they tell us in the annual budget request. It's all based off the information the clubs send in to us. So it's a long and involved process. It gets a bit tedious at times, but that's the basic procedure we use.
Thank you, Jen.
Jill, we have one more question. How can you assume that a club gets extra funding and cut the budget?
Yeah, so what I was talking about there is usually our procedure when we have enough money is to assume that a club will get the same amount of funding it did last year at a minimum, with only a few exceptions. This year we had some rather special circumstances. For the past couple of years, we have been improperly dealing with a couple of payment items like LID, for example, and having to pay them for them out of cumulative surplus, which is a separate fund. This year we did it the right way and paid for it out of the same fund that pays for club budgets, which meant that we had less money available to clubs. And in addition, last year we had only about 90 clubs who applied for budgets, and this year we had 107. It's a big increase. And so we had, if we wanted to support those clubs who were applying for budgets, a lot of them didn't get budgets last year. We had to, in the end, cut every club's budget to make sure that clubs that applied did end up getting a budget. We didn't want to completely reject anyone and say, you guys don't deserve a budget. So I gotta go now, but
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Dale.
Yeah, and club budgets actually this year were about an 8-hour meeting process, so it was grueling and it was like really difficult for us to do that, and we were all like broken by the time we ended. Not because of the 8 hours, but because of what we had to do. It was actually towards the end of blanket 9% cut of budgets, just because we just didn't have any money left. And we were in debt, like not in debt, but like we were in negative for the total amount that we had to pay. So it was like really difficult, and Dale had to take a lot of difficult, like Dale's sitting in committee chair, so like he had to make that call, and that was like a very difficult call. So it's commendable to him that he did that.
If you have any questions about budgets, it does say that you're still confused, you can just email the head of finance. You can email all of us, and everyone will get back to you within 48 hours.
Yeah, we actually have a rule, Cassie.
Yeah, in the Constitution, it says that we have to respond to you in 48 hours, whether it says set up a meeting or it says I can talk to you about this later or something, but we do have to respond in 48 hours.
Yeah, so you will hear from us within 2 days, no matter what happens. So yeah, there's this question about escort vans that says there are a lot of escort vans. Do you want to hear that?
No, you.
Okay. I've seen a lot of escort vans parked in the parking lot, even though there's a huge demand for escort. They're not being efficiently used. They're not efficiently using their resources. Well, escort is also a student-run business. It's not a business, but basically it's student-run. So yeah, it's a student-run service. So there always aren't those many students there to drive the cars around. So it also depends on that. And other factors also, like during the winter, I know there weren't enough. Like we didn't run too many escort vans because of that. But I think, can you talk about that? That's the because would you have some more like information to add to that?
Just about the escort van sitting there.
Yeah.
Student Life doesn't run escort. That's something on its own, so we can't actually do anything about them sitting there. But yeah, what's the question?
Why are the escort vans running? Escort vans sitting in the parking lot when there's a huge demand for escort.
Because they're probably broken down. There's a lot of problems with escort vans. Their brakes don't usually work, or they're like pulling pieces.
Okay, great. So
there's a lot of rental vans that are out at the moment.
Okay.
We love your safety.
Yeah, great. Okay, so Amy, Amy Fallon, the vice president elect for student council, has actually just she's over here and she raised a very important point. Sometimes the vans get broken down. Sometimes the brakes wear off or something. So even if there's a little bit of problem with the vans, we ground them because it's a safety issue, and that's one of the things that a very good point that you raised. Thanks.
Maybe it's a good point to tradition.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll say a little bit to that because my good friend right here, Michelle, says something that can help increase school spirit is Traditions Week. Cough. What is Traditions Week? Traditions Week. Yes, Michelle. So Traditions Week, I'd like to say a little thing about it. No, you good? So I'm going to start. All right. Would you like to come up here? Yeah, so Student Alumni Association puts on
Student Alumni Relations Committee.
SARC puts it on.
Yeah, puts it on, and we it happens during spring.
Michelle, actually, since you're from SARC, you can talk about it. And guys, in the future, when we have symposiums, if certain clubs want to come in and talk about their events, it's completely fine with us. That's actually really good. We want these symposiums to be a way of getting awareness and getting your name out, getting our initiatives out at the same time you can talk about that. So Michelle, talk about your event today.
Okay, this is shame.
If you don't want to get your face in, you can stand behind the laptop and talk.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick run through Traditions Week. Traditions Week happens during the week of Spree Day. So you guys don't actually know when it happens, and that's the whole point. So what we did is, because we don't have a football team, so we don't have homecoming week, we wanted to make a week of traditions that incorporate what Clark is. And this comes together in a week full of 5 different theme days. And that it goes I love Clark Day, I love Worcester Day, I love Alumni Day, I love challenging, this is a new one. I love Challenging Convention Day, and I love Traditions Day, which is Spree Day. And so together we hope that it can help bring Clarkies together by celebrating what Clark as a whole together is. And so we really hope you guys will enjoy the events that we put on. Look out for a lot of social media advertising. And for any club leaders out there, or if you're in a club, tell this to your club leader. We want clubs to participate in the Clark Club Scavenger Hunt. So just send an email to start1887@gmail.com inquiring more about what that means for your club. It also helps advertise your club, so it's a good opportunity. And so again, SARTC1887@gmail.com.
And it's a great place for it's a great Tuitions Week. It's a great school spirit week. So we I know definitely all of us would like to be a part of that, and I'm already part of that. So we're Cougar Pride right there. If you want to know more about soccer, these emails, the soccer account, or come to a meeting, which is on Thursday, 7:15. Where?
JC215.
Thank you, Michelle.
So
Okay.
we have about 5 minutes left. Obviously, we're just probably gonna take about 1 or 2 more questions and we'll start wrapping up after that.
One of the major questions that's coming that's kind of different is why are most of the buildings, JC, AC, UC, LASRI, not locked during the daytime? It's a huge security issue. Anyone can get into the building and stab someone. Okay, so the way we run is we run with an open campus. We're an open campus and we build the community. We don't want to like alienate Clark from the community because child and convention, changing our world, and Clark is very big on working with the community. So that's one of the things, one of the reasons why we keep the UC open. And so, for example, we had the President David Angel's event over there about the in Grace. I'm pointing there because Grace was there. Yeah. So we used to have it. We had it in Grace, and a neighbor came in, like a neighbor from somewhere from Main
There was a
South.
non-Clarkie here.
Yeah, a non-Clarkie came here. No one, a non-Clarkie affiliated person came here and he was talking about his concerns. And I think that's very important to us, for us to be open and for us to like not just be closed in ourselves. But also at the same time, I know that might be like a safety thing for other buildings like Jonas Clark and Lazary, and definitely we will talk to the people who are in charge of safety and look at their viewpoint also, and we'll get back to you on this. Anyone who wants to take the last question?
Very long.
Alicia, do you want to take the question?
Oh no, it's about that one. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
all
can
right.
take part of this.
I'll ask a question and you guys can take it from there.
Go ahead.
A lot of students on campus badly need jobs, and I'm sure a lot of people will jump on the chance to take the job.
Okay, so the Leap Center / Career Services, if you, I don't know if you get their emails, but they recently sent out an email talking about summer jobs and what you can do. And basically, it's a link that it puts you to a website that has all of these job listings that Clark has found and stuff like that. And you can go on there and you can fill out the application, or you can go to the lovely career services and have your resume checked and stuff like that, and they can point you in the proper direction.
They also, you can go to the Clark Recruiter, which is where a lot of people get like job opportunities
That's the
from,
website.
yeah. Volunteer opportunities, anything that you can find, they're really helpful. And also drop an hour, so you don't even have to make an appointment.
And if your question was about on-campus jobs, which might also have been a part of your question, there is one person on student council, I think it's Annie, who's working with the president's office on getting more jobs that are non-work study. So yeah, but yeah, non-work study jobs are open to like students who are like from this country too. So yeah, so like she's working for so basically, yeah, so we should probably have some progress on that front also. There are people who are constantly working on that front. That's what we want to do.
All right, to end this, I think we should answer the very last question as we're saying our goodbyes. What are we majoring in?
Okay, I'm a psych major with an education minor.
And I am going to be probably a management major with a minor in political science and possibly concentration in urban development and social change, going for probably into public administration and public service.
So I'm planning to major in physics and minor in math and management. I'm also thinking of doing 3-2 engineering programs that Clark is has an affiliation with.
I plan on double majoring in biology and psychology. And I hopefully would like to research positive psychology in the field of humanities.
I am.
I'm sorry.
No, she's saying great to me.
Yeah, great. So proud of you, guys. So proud of you.
She's so planned. Sometimes
I think I'm gonna do a biology major, and I want to go into health services.
beautiful.
Very cool.
Great, so guys, thank you so much. Does anyone have any last words?
Please email us with more questions because we love questions.
We don't have that.
Wait, are we done?
No, we have like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We have like a
Good.
minute.
So please email us, email student council, email your representatives, even if none of us are your representatives. This is super important that we can continue the transparency between council and our constituents. And we couldn't thank you more enough than participating on this.
And remember, if there's some initiative that you want to take on personally, you can also, like, many people don't know, you as normal, like, and you as clerkies can also take on initiatives by yourself. We will be happy to guide you. We'll be happy to work with you if you want us to. If you want to work independently, we'll like tell you who to talk to, which administrator will be most helpful. So you can get in touch with us at any time. We will be sending out a report about this. We will be answering each question. There are about 83 entries over here. We'll be answering each of them, compiling a report and posting them. And this page will be open till midnight. You can, this question bank will